In this video, we will actually start implementing our game's functionality. And we will start with the most important functionality, which is rolling the dice. And let's start with another look at our flowchart here. So that's why I included it in the starter files. So when the user rolls a dice, we want to first generate a random dice roll, then display it, and then check whether it is a 1 or not. And if it's not, we add that dice roll to the current score, and if it is a 1, we go to the next player. And maybe you're noticing that having or building a flowchart like this is pretty similar to actually dividing the big problem down into smaller sub-problems. So essentially, all these squares that we have here on the flowchart are like the sub-problems that we now need to go ahead and implement. So again, for a bigger application like this one, it's a very good idea to draw a flowchart like this, along with the process of solving problems that I taught you in the previous section. So use all of these methods that I showed you together whenever you need to solve a problem. Because in the end, building a project like this is also simply solving a problem. So you know how the project is supposed to work, but then the problem is to essentially implement it yourself. And so you need to divide that big problem that can seem very scary into smaller problems that will then be easy to implement. And as we move through this project, you will see that it's not so scary after all. And with that being said, let's now also see this part of the flowchart in action in the real application. So this is a little bit less abstract. So we roll the dice, and now we roll the 1. So let's just do it again. Let me reload the game as if it was a new game. So we roll the dice, we roll a number, so we generate a random number and then display the dice accordingly, and then we add that score down here. Again, and now we actually rolled a 1, and so we moved on to the next player. Okay. So that's what I just explained before using the flowchart, but seeing it in action is a bit easier. So we want to react to clicking that roll button. So we need to select that button element and then add an event listener or an event handler, right? So here we have our 3 buttons, and actually let's select all of them. So we will need them anyway later. So that's button new, button roll, and button -- hold. So const button new is document.querySelector.btn and then 2 dashes new. And now I will just duplicate this line here. So that's button roll, and here also roll, and then hold. So let's just confirm new roll and hold, and indeed new roll and hold. So that's going to work just fine. And now let's implement here the rolling dice functionality. So for that, we take the roll button. So that's button roll. And then, as always, when we want to react to an event, which in this case is going to be a click, we use the add event listener method. Then the name of the event, and then our handler function right here. And since we will not reuse this function, I can simply write it here directly. So let's now write some comments before we actually write the code, because that is very helpful in knowing what we should do. So we already know that we need to start by generating a random dice roll. Then we display the dice. And then we check for a rolled 1, basically. And if true, switch to next player. Okay, so that's exactly what we have in the flowchart as well. So let's start here. So let's create simply a dice variable. And so that's why now we have dice L here for the element, and then dice for the number itself. And this variable here needs to be not a global variable, so not a variable outside here, because each time that we roll the dice, we want to generate a new number. And so let's simply define that variable here. And now we create this random dice roll just as before. So math.random, which creates a number between 0 and 0.9999, so almost 1. Multiply that by 6. Then we truncate all of this. So we remove the decimal part. So that's math.trunc. So basically we pass in the result of all of this into this math.trunc function. And so this will then give us a number between 0 and 5. And so we just add 1 to elevate that to 1 to 6. So that's similar to what we did before. And now we just need to display this dice. Now the first thing that we need to do is to actually remove the hidden class. So remember in the starting conditions, we hid the dice by adding the hidden class. And so now the first thing is to remove that. So dice element dot class list dot remove. So just like in the last project. And now comes the interesting part. So we know that the dice will be a number between 1 and 6, right? And now according to these numbers, we want to display one of these images that we have here. So you see that we have dice -1, -2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so now we want to use this dice number here to, according to that number, display one of the images. And that's actually not hard to do. So let me show you how it looks like in the HTML now. So you see that right now the source of the image is dice5.png. And if you know some HTML, you know that the source attribute here is how we define which image should be displayed. And we can now actually we can manipulate this source attribute from our JavaScript. And so that's the trick that we will use to display the image according to the rolled dice number. So let's again take the dice element, and then here there is a new thing. So now we can use the source property. So src, just like it is called in the HTML. And now we can set it to a string, and that string will then be the name of the image displayed. So let's use a template literal, and then we write dice dash, because that's basically the common name in all of these image names. And then here we use the dice number .png. And so with this, we can dynamically load one of these 6 images here, depending on the random rolled dice. So let's give it a save and let's give it a try, because this part should already be working now. So let's see. And indeed, we get this 3. Let's actually also log to the console for now this random number, just so we see that the dice is actually the corresponding one to the number. So let's go back here to the console, make it a bit smaller. And now let's roll the dice, and it works. Great. So we get a 2, and so indeed a 2 is also displayed here. Now 6 and 6 here. And let's just see if we get all the numbers. But yeah, we get the 1, and we already saw the 6 happening as well. So that means that our code is correct. Great. And now all that we have to do is to keep adding the rolled dice to the current score. Okay? And so that's what we will do here in this case, where we check for the rolled 1. So remember, that only happens when the number is not a 1, right? So again, if it's a 1, switch player. If no, then add the dice roll to the current score. So basically, let's test here if the dice is not 1. Because this is our main case, so the one that we're mostly interested in. And then our else block, which will be basically in case that dice is a 1. So let's just grab that here. So here we want to switch to the next player. But if it's not a 1, then we want to add the dice to the current score. So let's do this part here. And in order to actually be able to add the current dice to the current score, we need a way of saving that current score somewhere, right? So remember from the first project that we should not just store any data only in the DOM, right? So in this particular case, we should not only display this current score on the user interface. Instead, we also want a variable in our code which always holds the current score of this current round. Okay, so we need to define a variable for that. And where do you think we should do that? Well, it is certainly not in this function. So not in this handler function, because if we did that, then each time that we roll a dice, the current score would be resetted. So it would be redefined, because this function here is called over and over again each time that the button is clicked. So if we want to basically persist that value, so if it should keep existing, then it needs to be outside here in the main program. So let's call this one current score. And we start it at 0. And it needs to be a let because we will keep updating it. So again, this cannot be inside of this function because then it would be set to 0 each time that we click the button, right? And so therefore it needs to be outside. Okay, and now we say current score is equal the current score plus the dice. And once again, there is a shortcut operator for repeating this variable here. So instead of this, we can just write current score plus equal the dice. Okay, so that's exactly the same, but it's a little bit faster to write. And now all we need to do is to display the score on the current player. Now at this point, we will just display it on player 1 to make it a little bit simpler, but in the future, we will need to keep track of which player is the active player. So that we will do in the next lecture. But again, for now, let's just display the score on player 1. So let's select the score or the current score for player 1. So let's check where that is scored. And it is right here with this ID --1 and --0. So let's actually copy that. And then I will select both of these elements up here. So let's do that below this one. And actually, I will keep using get element by ID now. So current 0, and then again element. Get element by ID. And then just the class name, again without the hash symbol there. And then current 1 element is document.get element, and then current 1. Okay, and so now let's use this one. So let me copy it. Dot text content equals, of course, the current score that we just defined previously. Okay, and let me just add a note here. Change later, because in the future we will need to display this current score at the current player and not always at player number 0 or player number 1, right? But for now, we just want to make this functionality work. So let's just test it out for now. So roll dice 4, and you see that it added the 4 to the 0. And now 3 plus 4 is 7, and so it works. And now that we rolled a 1, nothing happened. So in this situation, we want to move to the next player. So basically switching the player. And so that's going to be this else branch. But this one I will leave for the next lecture because this involves doing a lot of stuff. So maybe you can think about what we need to do, because that would be a good opportunity for you to start thinking by yourself how to implement this kind of functionality. So try that out, and then let's move on to the next video.